The buck stops with the board. 9 are elected with the lawful responsibility to prepare budgets and ensure lawful consumption of every tax dollar. The district is headed towards the state stepping in with financial recovery. In June of 2019, our board, with a blind trust, approved a final fund budget that shows we had $4.2 million in unassigned fund balance. In June, we told the state we had $4.2 million in our savings account. In October, an annual financial report is due to the state. It's called an AFR. Think of it as a report card to the stakeholders, since it is a certified report. Ours was not filed in October, as stated in the Pennsylvania School Code, our state law. We neglected to file it. We didn't turn in the report in October. For some reason, somehow, our board neglected this duty and didn't do its job until March 5th of this year. March 5th, in this report on page 5, it shows the board is the authority. The people elected them to take the lawful responsibility to oversee every tax dollar collected and disbursed in the district and ensure each dollar was lawfully spent. It is the duty of a school board member to be informed. And on page 9, it shows the fund balance at $874,438. Let me repeat that. In June, the board told the state we had $4.2 million, and in October, the district really filed it in March, only had $800,000. Normally, discrepancies like this get audited immediately, and the board would scour the books. The board chose to block lawful transparency. Remember, the lawful responsibility of a school director is to be informed. The board voted to block the board itself from even looking at the bank statements. Board members also voted to stop individuals wanting to do their elected job. The board neglected its responsibility of investigating financial records to ensure lawful consumption was taking place. So in my opinion, we have 3 problems concerning the financial cliff. The people we serve have the right to know all the details, every dollar collected and dispersed, and then we seek their input as to a path forward. Problem number 1 is the district is in debt, a massive debt. Number 2, the board majority appears to ignore the responsibility to be good stewards of public funds. And 3, they actively block those of us that want to honor our oath and act with fidelity. The laws allow the board members to be informed persons, and little power is given to the people when board of directors choose to neglect their duty. What this financial committee meeting is discussing is a new proposed budget without the benefit of seeing the district audit report. 10 citizens can petition the courts to remove directors that neglect their duty, or an individual citizen can seek the resignation of those that fail to honor their oath and act in immoral ways. What do you think? Hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So the budget that was originally passed and issued back in June of last year, budget that was then reviewed, has changed as of 3 o'clock, 2:51 this afternoon. Has anyone on this finance committee been involved in those changes? Nathan, were you involved in any of these changes? Rita, were you involved at all in any of these changes or adjustments?
Could you clarify what exactly you're talking about?
Okay, so we as a board were handed a new proposed budget at 2:51 p.m. today.
Right. You mentioned the budget that was approved last year.
Well, yeah, we had a preliminary budget for the same fiscal year that we approved earlier this year. They changed.
Okay.
They had some changes, right? From the preliminary budget that this board approved and the new one. So obviously, since there were some changes, I'm questioning, were you at all involved in any of those changes?
If you're asking, did I make any of these changes?
What?
The answer is no.
I mean, were you involved? Did they sit down and discuss it with you? Hey, I want to change this because of this, or hey, take a look at this audit report, or hey, take a look at what we saw here, or any input at all from you as either our treasurer or a director to review the changes to this proposed budget that this board is responsible for approving?
Well, I've regularly talked, yes, to Patty, just new developments are constantly coming up. So there's an effort to keep abreast of what's going on here.
Okay, so what was the major change that you noticed between the new one that came out at 3 o'clock and the old one that we've had for the last several months?
Mr. Bradley, what can I ask? What
I'm asking the board member, sir, but you can,
no,
you
but
can
you're
do whatever you
referring
want.
to
I
a-
just
you're
don't trust you.
referring to a- You're referring to a budget. Are you talking about the resolution not to pass the index?
No, sir. You have a preliminary budget, general fund budget document, official preliminary general fund budget, fiscal year 2021,
Mr.
published
Bradley,
on
that's a
January.
Preliminary budget. It was based upon data had at the time. It's
Correct.
preliminary for a reason. Preliminary indicates it's preliminary. There is data that will change from that point.
And I agree. I'm talking to the board member. So I'm talking to the board member. You can answer for him if you need, but I'm talking to two board members that are part of this finance committee providing oversight to our administration. Okay, so
Mr. Bradley, this is Rita. I
Hi, Rita.
remember passing a resolution not to exceed the index. I do not remember passing any kind of budget for 2021.
okay, well,
That is what we are working on now. If you remember a budget for 2021, please give me the date so I can check the minutes and see if we approved it.
Sure.
'Cause I have no recollection of that.
I can respect that. So the preliminary general fund budget was responsible to be approved by the board, and it was done on January 29th of 2020, right? Just, 5 months ago. And it included the expected preliminary, like Patty said, preliminary numbers. And then subsequently, we have a proposed budget that arrived at 2:51 p.m. today. The question I'm asking is, Rita, since you did vote on this thing back in January so that Larry could sign it, and you're going to be asked to sign this one today, or Larry will be asked to sign it, and you're expected to vote on it as a director. Did you look at the two, and what was the most significant difference that you found between the two?
Neither had a tax increase.
Okay, that would not be a difference. That would be a similarity. What was the most significant difference that you noticed between the January version of our general fund budget and now the May 27th, 2:51 p.m. version of the general fund budget for the same exact year?
I saw no significant difference. Why don't you point it out to me?
Okay, I'll just check in. How about you, Nathan? Did you see any significant difference between the two? Something that was so glaring that it should be reviewed by our board?
I have not compared the two side by side. This has been a constantly changing budget. And again, if this preliminary budget, if you're going back to the way it was in January, there have been a ton of changes since then. Obviously, the whole coronavirus situation has impacted, and not to mention the regular changes that we normally see through the course of the school year.
Excellent. So you feel that there should have been some changes to some of these numbers between January and today related to COVID-19 and general funding?
That's not what I said. I said it would be acceptable
Right.
and reasonable to think that some things would have changed between January and today.
And my question was, what were the major differences? What were the major differences between the two budgets, between the one we did in January and the one you're presenting? I mean, you, the finance committee, Rita, Richard, and Nathan, are adopting and recommending to a complete board in an hour this new budget that has changes in it. And I was just curious, what changes did you notice that were significant? Like, did you notice a significant change in the state funding? Did you notice a significant change in the taxpayer funding? Did you notice a significant change in the amount of teachers we're going to use, or the amount of programs we're going to provide, or the amount of benefits we're going to give to our staff? Did you see any significant changes that caused you concern?
Why don't you get to the point and tell us where you're trying to go with this?
I'm going with just very simple, big picture, business person. You had one in January, things happened. You have one in May, shows up a couple hours before the meeting, looking for an approval. Did you get a chance to look at the two and see where they differed? Obviously, someone made the differences. They needed to publish a new one. It wasn't apparently you that made the changes. It wasn't apparently Rita that even noticed that there was changes. So therefore, who made the changes and why were they made? I mean, Patty just gave you a little bit of a hit.
This is part of the budgeting process. This is how it works. In January, you decide whether you need to raise taxes or not. Then you come out with a proposed budget. Of course, things are going to change. I expect those things to change too, and certainly this year. You want me to go line by line? I'm not going to do that. The significant changes are in what we may or may not get from the state. They're the most significant changes, and what we may or may not get from the federal government, and how that's going to be put in or not put in the state budget. That's all I'm going to say on that. If you want to go line by line, feel free to do so.
It would be our responsibility, but more importantly, how about you just look at, I don't know, debt, or general fund balance, or information provided in the audit report, or information provided from the AFR. Were any of those things reviewed by this finance committee prior to making this recommendation? And do you think you should have done those things prior to making this recommendation? Do you have a list of changes from one to the other?
Mr. Bradley, we just listened to our business manager go through the entire budget and update us on the major changes. If you have further questions on that, fire away. But cross-examining me over who made the changes and what did I see is accomplishing nothing.
Okay, so let's try it. I'll go my side. I noticed that there's significant changes to these budgets.
Mr. Bradley, it's
Yes.
preliminary for a reason, because it's based upon data at the time.
Great.
I would be remiss in my duties if I did not update as new information becomes available.
I would agree.
This is a proposed budget, and I will guarantee when we get to a final budget adoption, you will have the same diatribe of conversation of, did you evaluate, Nathan? Did you evaluate, Rita? What changed line by line from the proposed budget to the final budget?
Right.
Mr.
Well,
Bradley,
I want to ask.
is-
I'm asking the board members. I appreciate that, Ms. Denicola. You're very helpful.
June.
You're very
Just
helpful.
like the preliminary budget change.
Very helpful.
And you're trying to get to the point, a point that I don't know.
I know. I understand that. That's why you're not involved in this conversation at this time. You're not. You're one of our subordinate employees. You're not involved in this conversation. I'm talking to
I've
the.
heard that ad nauseum. I fully understand.
I know. That's why I'm talking to the directors. I'm talking to the elected directors. I only am talking to the elected directors. They are the ones that can create an official action. So my question is,
Bradley,
Rita,
this
why
elected
did not?
director is deferring to the business administrator, who is the expert on the budget. I am deferring to her, so you need not ask me any more questions.
Okay, so you're just going to abdicate that responsibility to this employee, and then you'll. I mean, you're not even talking about checking it from January till May, whatever changes took place, right? You didn't even look at the changes. You're not going to. You're just going to say, thank you very much. I'm glad you did your work. We'll take it from here. How about you, Nathan? Did you abdicate your authority to the administration that you were elected to oversee?
Mr. Bradley, your twisted representation of the facts here is in no way accurate, and I don't appreciate it. I've told you my involvement in the process up to this point. I've asked you if you have questions. Your only questions have been directed at me, asking me what I did.
I'll ask you a question. Here, I'll ask you a question. Why is what is our total indebtedness? And do you agree with it?
Let's keep the questions to the budget. If you
It is the budget. On the budget, there's a line item says total long-term indebtedness. Right? Page 23. Page 23.
I'm done with your foolish questions. I'm sorry.
Do you find that foolish, sir? I find you as an elected official responsible for the creation of this budget and oversee your subordinate employees to ensure that these numbers are not only accurate, but correct. And there's two different things, right?
I find you're beating around the bush questions.
I'm not beating around the bush. I'm asking a very specific question. The total long-term indebtedness, sir.
Sir, I find your constant use of the word subordinate in dealing with our employees to be a contributing cause to a toxic relationship. I'm finished.
Oh, good for you. So, do the total long-term indebtedness, do you find that it should have changed between January and May?
Mr. Bradley, with all due respect, the dollar amount that you're referring to has no impact on the budget. It is simply an estimated amount. It's a special schedule. It's not part of the budget. Well, yes, I agree. It should be more spot on, and it has been corrected in this proposed budget. At the preliminary level, our level of indebtedness that has nothing to do with the budget at that point, my concentration is making sure that the budget numbers are accurate. So for you to waste our time trying to get to a point that a special schedule number changed, a special schedule number that has no impact on the budget, I don't think anybody wants to have those discussions.
I agree, Ms. Denicola. I just wanted to find out if they read the thing. I wanted to see if they read it. Nathan, did you even read this budget?
Beating around the bush trying to
Well, let's ask him first. It's not gotcha. It's a question. Did you read it? That'd be insulting to ask the question, but now, given the response,
Education across
given
the
the
state
response,
is a serious position, and this circus you create is not helping anybody get out of our situation.
I was giving the gentleman the benefit of the doubt. He's a Christian business leader. I assumed he read it. Did you read it,
Do
Nathan?
not bring religion into this.
It is a religious thing. It's a moral standard. I'm sorry.
We do
You
have
should have most
another
of-
individual I'm
Did
going
you?
to allow-
I know. Hold on. Did you or did you not read this, Nathan?
Thomas?
Naaman, did you read this?
Thomas?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.